Our next guest, we talk about social selling all the time, but I'd like to bring up one of the best examples of that, and that's Zayandehroudi. What did he do at the Whitecaps? He took in 1 year a team from $1.5 million to $3 million in sales by beating the gatekeeper every single time with him and his team of 7 by using LinkedIn. He did not do it just by making cold calls. He actually did it by making warm calls through LinkedIn. I think this is an important thing to avoid the gatekeeper continuously and get to the actual decision maker. So I've actually had to practice his name several times. Please welcome Zayandehroudi.
Thank you. Thank you, Troy. All right, everyone, I'm just going to take my water as well to the stage. It's funny because I believe was it Ken or someone who introduced always be selling, always be closing. And I wanted to make a reference to this. I think the new trend is always be connecting. And we'll get a little bit into that right now. I'm going to do my best to come to this side of the room as well because I don't want to stay all the way over there. But I think with the access to technology and the CRM systems are out there, there's too much information that people have access to for you to surprise them or woo them in some way that they don't know. And I also believe that people are coming to us much later in the process, so they have a lot more information, and it's up to us not to screw it up in terms of sales. So I just want to make a disclaimer. I know there's a lot of sales reps in here, and I know there's a lot of sales managers and sales directors. What I'm about to talk in the next 30 minutes will not replace the phone call. Okay, so after this little introduction, don't go back to your boss and say, I don't have to make a cold call anymore, or I don't have to pick up the phone anymore. I don't want people getting upset at me and calling me out on it. The phone call is still the most efficient way for us to sell the experience, sell the stories, the reason why people have to come to stadiums. That's not going to be replaced. How we connect and build rapport with people, I think is changing. And that's what I want to talk about in the next 30 minutes or so. So, just like any good sales call, I want to set the agenda for us in the next 30 minutes or less. We're going to quickly review the history of communications and how I look at communications in sales. We're going to talk about the rise of social networks and look at the new sales model, old sales model, very similar to old school versus new school that was mentioned before. I'm going to share with you guys my aha moment and how I started looking at social selling, and in particular LinkedIn differently. And then we're going to talk about how to build your profile, and last but not least, how you can start prospecting using LinkedIn. So everyone good? Thumbs up? Perfect. Okay. So the history of sales I look at is the way sort of how we communicate our products to our customers. Communication has changed over the years, so sales have to change over the years. When mail was very common, you would see Sears catalogs showing up at your doors. Who remembers Sears catalogs? I remember Sears catalogs, or IKEA catalogs, I don't know, whatever catalogs you're getting. So that was common. Phone calls were, very common in people's homes. Next thing you know, cold calls were born, and everyone was getting a cold call. Now we're getting cold calls from India and China during our dinner hours. Cold calls are still happening. Faxes became common. Next thing you know, a lot of trees were being killed, and we're just being spammed. A lot of fax messages. Email became very common, and next thing after that, email blasts. Every other, I'm sitting right here, and I have about 15 email spams coming to my email as I'm listening to these presentations. So with social media and the platforms, the 3 logos that you see below, it's again changed the conversation. It's changed the way we want to talk to people, how we're receptive to them. 140 characters became something that's important to people. It wasn't important, let's say, 5 years ago or 10 years ago. So all this is saying is we have to start adapting the way we want to communicate with our prospects and our clients. If we don't, we're going to make them uncomfortable, and that's a really hard way to start building rapport with someone. Just like Al mentioned, he doesn't remember the last time he picked up a cold call. And that's the kind of guy that we want to sell to. A chief executive officer or a chief operating officer, someone who can make a decision. And if he can't remember the last time he picked up a cold call, what are the chances you guys will have as well? So quick hands up. Who has a Facebook account? Yes. Keep your hands up. Who has a Twitter account? Yes. Who has a LinkedIn account? Yes. So now this is the next question. Who checks Facebook 10 times a day? Who checks Twitter 10 times a day? Really? You should be checking Twitter a lot more than that, okay? Because it's instant. Who checks LinkedIn 10 times a day? Really? Nobody? Handful of people? Okay. So this is very common. I am not a sales trainer. I work for the BC Alliance. Previous to that, I worked for the Vancouver Whitecaps. And previous to that, I was a sales rep for Maple Leaf Sports Entertainment. This is not something that I go on tour and do, but the few times that I have done it for other clubs because I've become friends with them, I ask this question, and the answer to how many times you check your LinkedIn account is usually once a day, maybe twice a day, and then it's forgotten. And this seems to be a common trend in this room as well. So the next slide hopefully will tell you you need to get more active on these social platforms because guess what? These are where the eyeballs are. You guys have heard the expression, go where the eyeballs are, go where the customers are. This is where the customers are. And every day these stats are changing. So 1.2 million active users, billion users on Facebook. Twitter has 300 million active registered users. LinkedIn has 260 million. So I want to focus on LinkedIn. If there's 260 million active users on LinkedIn, how many are in the United States? How many are in California? How many are in San Francisco? These are your lead list. These are people that you can be connecting with and selling them on the experience of coming out to your arena, your stadiums, whatever it is. And this is a self-populated list, right? People are going there and voluntarily putting up their information in terms of what school they went to, what charities they are supporting of, what previous jobs they've had. And this gets edited every time they change jobs. Just 12 weeks ago, I moved from the Whitecaps to the BC Lions. This is the team in the CFL. And normally, I would lose contact with a lot of people. As soon as I made the update, now everyone in my database knew this is the new title, new position. So when we're talking about following with prospects and following with people, the business card that you have is useless as soon as they change positions. On LinkedIn, it's always self-updating. So for me, as a sales rep working for the Toronto Raptors, this became my go-to platform. I'm by no means a guru on Twitter. By no means am I that active on Facebook. But on LinkedIn, and I'll get into some of those details, that became the device that I went after and started driving revenue to sell more tickets. Who has seen this old sales model versus new sales model? It's probably floated around LinkedIn news feeds. Has anyone seen this? Hands up if you've seen this model. Okay. So the reason why I've included this in this slide is simply because I think the amount of information that's out there that people have in their hands has changed the way we connect with them. And I'm going to give you this in the perfect, simple example. If you want to go buy a printer tomorrow, what do? Right? The old way, you would walk into a Best Buy, and you go to the printer section. There would be a salesperson there, and they would tell you the features and benefits of these 30 printers. And you would spend 20 minutes going down this row, printer after printer after printer after printer. Today, most of you guys, and this is what I do, I go on Google, I type in this type of printer, I get the prices, I probably have 3 models in mind, I might buy it online, or if I don't have the confidence in doing that, then I go into Best Buy. At that point, it's the rep's, hopefully the rep doesn't screw it up, right? Because I've already made a decision in my mind that I'm going to buy a printer. Hopefully they don't talk me out of it. So this is the difference. And so today, the reason why I titled this presentation the new ABCs is I think it's not about closing every time you talk to people. It's about connecting every time you talk to people. And LinkedIn has that platform that you can do that. So it's about educating, it's about engaging, it's about using these social networks and building that brand. Ken alluded to this as well. You want to be that ticket person in your local community, your local market, so they're calling you when they're ready to buy, not going through Ticketmaster. If they go through Ticketmaster, you've lost. You're not getting that commission. Or you didn't make that impact, so they would come back to you. Any questions about anything so far? Keep going? Perfect. So, the aha moment. Before I tell you what the aha moment was for me, let me take you back a little bit to my history. I signed up on LinkedIn in 2008. I was not an active user in 2008. I became an active user in 2010 when I got my first job in sports, working part-time contract with the Toronto Raptors in the NBA. And when I got into sports, I realized that I had this really powerful brand behind me, and I was the cool person in my circle of friends because I didn't know anybody else who worked in professional sports, let alone the Toronto Raptors. So I said, why don't I just try to start connecting with people and see if they would accept my invitation. And as soon as I had on my job description that I work for the Toronto Raptors, I started seeing this momentum where people were accepting my invitations and my network started growing. So fast forward, today I have over 7,000 direct contacts on LinkedIn. Majority of them are customers. Majority of them are in Toronto. I've since moved to Vancouver, so I'm building that network up again. And a lot of them are actually people in this room, people in the industry. So I describe myself as a power user on LinkedIn. I spend 1 to 2 hours a day on LinkedIn, 10 to 12 hours a week. And I use it for prospecting for new business. I use it to connect with other ticket sales reps in the industry and sort of engage in dialogue in what they're doing. And I also use it sort of for research, see what other people are doing. And I spend 1 to 2 hours a day on that. And the other thing is, LinkedIn has been very good to me. That's how I got my job with the Toronto Raptors. That's how I got my job as a manager of sales with the Whitecaps and moved 3,000 miles across the country. And that's how I got my job recently as director of ticket sales for the BC Lions. So literally, this platform got me into sports, and the last 5 years helped me grow my brand into the point that I'm right now as director of ticket sales. So that's a little bit of background on me. And I'm a big user, and I don't have shares on LinkedIn, so you don't think I'm trying to sell you on LinkedIn, but this is what's helped me personally. The aha moment happened in the summer of 2013 when I moved from Toronto to Vancouver. And I was trying to build my network of the people living in Vancouver. I came across this guy. His name was Gary Matthews, and I always make a reference to him because this is not my idea. This is his idea. And he said, Ben, you love your job, right? I said, I do. He said, so what are you going to do with LinkedIn if you love your job? So that's a very good question. Most people, and put up your hands after I ask this question, view LinkedIn as an opportunity to get your next job or just have your online resume. Who sees LinkedIn as a place where they can just put their online resume? Hands up. Just one, really? My old boss, yeah? Okay, so most people that I talk to, they look at LinkedIn as a place for them to get their next job. Right? This is the platform that you go, you put your job description, what you've done, how many calls you've made. Maybe you're the #1 sales rep this time or that time, and that was it. After that, they didn't do anything else with it, which is probably the reason why people aren't using LinkedIn 1 to 2 hours a day. So he said, why don't you start using LinkedIn as a lead generator? And that started the light bulb going off. And I thought to myself, I have the most powerful brand in the city, one of the 3 sports teams in the city. Why don't I actually start using my LinkedIn profile as a personal website? And that's when the change started happening. I started changing the way my LinkedIn profile looks, so it doesn't just say job title and what company I work for, and it actually starts describing a story of who I am, why I got into sports, and then the value proposition that I have as a ticket sales rep. That was the shift, that I'm going to start using this platform as a personal website, just like a real estate agent would, or a mortgage broker would. They all have their own domain names, right? And you go to them and tell you what the value proposition is and why you should use them as an agent. I said, why not? I could do that too as a ticket sales rep. So that's what we started doing. Next slide. Before you can actually start using the platform and being proactive in prospecting, you got to change your website. And there's 3 areas of focus that I'm going to recommend to you guys that you should do on your LinkedIn profiles. So before we do that, the internet, LinkedIn, Facebook, is so cluttered that you have basically 5 seconds to grab someone's attention before the newsfeed continues to go and you've lost them. And this was some of the suggestions that Mashable did in terms of their research. They said the 2 areas they need to focus on right away is updating your profile picture and your heading. So your profile picture, since you have this powerful brand behind you, the 49ers or the Cowboys or the Golden State Warriors, make sure you're taking that photo with the backdrop, the media backdrop. So if people are scrolling and they see your picture and they see that logo of your team behind, that's an instant credibility. Okay? What you want to do is have good lighting. You want to have a head-to-shoulder sort of frame shot, and you want to have the backdrop behind you, because that'll grab someone's attention right away. Now, you can't do that if you're working for a small company or a small printing company where nobody knows who you are. But the fact that we work in sports and that logo is recognized because it's on page 6, whether we win, lose, or draw, that's huge branding behind you. And you need to use that to your advantage. Some things not to do: please don't have shots of you and your dogs, your cats, your wife, your husband, your girlfriends. This is a business-to-business platform, so you need to be able to present yourself in a way. So what you do on Facebook or Twitter, don't do on LinkedIn. This is my recommendation. The second thing, this was a major change, the heading. So when you put in your job title, account executive, ticket sales, account executive, group sales, blah, 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 that means something in your company, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything to the prospects that you're going to talk to. Instead, put your value proposition. If you're a group sales rep, say something like bringing the kids to the soccer game to meet their heroes. That would become your heading. Or if you're selling suites, providing the ultimate hospitality experience in Vancouver. Because that's what you do. Nobody cares that you're account executive suite sales. If you tell them what your value proposition is and you have that photo, now they're starting to click together and you start building rapport subconsciously, even before you contact them. And you have 140 characters in your heading. So something that you can do as well is add your phone number after your value proposition, so it's easy for people to call you back. I work really hard to call a lot of people, and the last thing I want is someone to scramble around to find my phone number. I want to make it as easy as possible for them to call me back. Okay? So profile picture is updated, heading's updated. If you manage to get through the first 2 and you grab their attention in the first 5 seconds, hopefully they click on your profile. Now we're going to go to the summary. The summary, you have 2,000 characters in order to tell your story. And we all have very different stories of how we got into sports. Some of you are coming right out of college and university. Some of you have done a bunch of other jobs that sucked, and you realize, I want to be in sports, and I'm willing to make that sacrifice. That was me. The first 5 years, I did 3 jobs just for the title and the pay and the perks and benefits. The last 5 years, that I've been in sports, I've done it because it was a passion of mine. Because I wanted to bring people closer to the game, closer to their heroes. Because that was something that resonated with me growing up. So the summary, this is your opportunity to use the word I instead of Ben was a scholar and he did this, 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 this. This is your opportunity to say something about your character and why you value customers, or why you value events, or why you value the live experience. Use all 2,000 characters in there. And then afterwards, you have an opportunity to upload photos, pictures, videos to make this website look interactive and make this website come to life. If your LinkedIn profiles just have text after text after text, it's not very engaging. But if you have an opportunity to put some beautiful graphics or some great videos of your stadium or players or whatever the case is, then you're going to grab someone's attention. Are we good with the first 3 points? Any questions so far? Good?
How much pushback do you have from teams in using images and logos and likenesses and such? And do you suggest that folks get approval from their teams before they put anything up?
Zero pushback. No team that I've worked for has said, I don't want you to use this photo or this image or this video. The fact that we're in sports and it's a marketing machine, there's lots of videos available on Google, on YouTube, lots of photos you can pull from your website. If it's on the web, it's live, it's happening. And so I haven't had any pushback from anyone saying, we don't want to use this video or anything like that. Okay? So now we're basically building the website so we can start being active and approaching people via LinkedIn. This is how you do it. And this is what's worked for me, so I can only share that with you. It might be different in your market, but this is what's brought success to me as a sales rep and to my sales teams in the last 2 years. We have divided our reps into business verticals instead of geography. So we would have a draft party. We would have 20 industries or 30 industries all in a hat, and you would pick out a vertical that you want to focus on. So it could be law firms, construction, technology, and you can break them down as many times as you like. The key was to be targeted, because once you start getting to know an industry, then you understand their language, and you understand how they like to do business and what their pain points are. So my reps, for example, 2 of them would be on law firms. Okay? Literally, they would go into LinkedIn. We would have a list of 20 law firms in Vancouver, and they would start searching on LinkedIn these law firms. The next level of search was finding key people in these law firms that they could target. So partners, let's say marketing directors, depends on the scale of the law firm. And there was only 2 types of people we were looking to really attract in conversation. If we were really focused on season tickets and business development and client retention, that side of the business, we would look for sales directors or partners or whatever the title is for that industry. And we would type that in, or you can click that on LinkedIn. You can click the company's name, and then you can search it by title. Obviously, the bigger your database, the more searches you're going to get. I have 7,000 people as a direct connection. This gives me access to 12 million people from second degree and third degree connections. If you only have 20 or 30 people on LinkedIn, it limits obviously how many people you can find in your database. So the first search was on the business vertical. The second was targeting their titles, because those are the type of people that we wanted to speak with. And the third one was sending an invitation. So you click to connect, and I always click on we've done business together. Okay? That's my go-to, even if I've never done business together. But what I do is add a personal note. And so it would be, hey, Jim, we haven't done business together yet, but I'm the manager of sales for the BC Lions. I'd love to connect with you in case you have any ticketing needs. You're limited in the number of characters you can put, so you're not putting any type of sales message or any type of website or any type of products. All you want to do in this conversation is to connect with them. That's the key. That's the goal. And I've done that thousands of times. To give you some numbers of success that we've had with my previous team, the Vancouver Whitecaps, if our reps would do this 100 times, 75 times, the person would accept their connection. Not bad, because they had built the website to have their professional photo, their backdrop, They had a value proposition, and their summary was built a little bit differently than other people. So they got through the clutter. From those 75 people that they connected with, the next step was engaging them in two-way email communication. So now taking it off of LinkedIn and going to your Outlook or whatever your email provider is, you get their email, you send them a note saying, hey, thanks for connecting on LinkedIn. I just wanted to share with you my work contact information in case you wanted to come down this summer to a game. My intention over there is to get them to reply. So now we start engaging in some type of conversation. From the 75 people that we connected with, we got about 40 two-way communication via email. Once they replied to the email and you had each other's information, I wouldn't just continue the email game because that can go on forever, but now you have their cell number, now you have their direct number, whatever is in their email signature, now you pick up the phone and call them. So this becomes your lead list. And when you pick up the phone and call them, it's not a cold call anymore because you've engaged in LinkedIn and you've engaged in email. So now it's you picking up the phone and saying, hey, instead of going back and forth in email, I thought this would be a cool opportunity for us to meet over coffee, learn a little bit more about your law firm. We're working with a few different firms right now. I think maybe I can help you. We did that, and I would say from the 40 people that we engaged in back and forth, we ended up closing 10 people. So 10 out of a total of 100 people that we prospected that was very selective, we got a return on our investment. And we went full menu. So it could have been in groups, it could have been seasons, it could have been mini packs, it could have been anything under the sun. But there was a return on the investment. You can do this whether you have a premium account or you have a free account. Now, if you have a premium account, when I signed up, it was $20 a month. Now it's $90 a month, I think, for Sales Navigator. I would pay $90 a month because I take relationships very seriously. And building your network, whether you're in sports or you're in construction sales or hotel sales, it doesn't matter. This network is going to go with you wherever you go. So make an investment in yourself. If your sports team isn't going to pay $90 a month, do it for yourself. You're a commissioned salesperson. You're going to see the investment. But with that $90 a month that you're paying, I guarantee you're going to spend more than 1 hour a week on it because it's not free anymore. You're going to do everything in your power to try to get some return on the investment. And this is why I spend 10 to 12 hours a week on it, and I'm just paying $20 a month. But it's brought my team success, it's brought me success, and I'm confident it's going to bring you guys success as well. Any questions about this three-step process before I show you some examples? Oh, yes.
I would add one thing that search function when you're looking for a business name or a title is to add like your team name or your sport. Because a lot of times you'll find, I happened with Vikings a few weeks back, it was former football head coach, now director of business development. The rep pushed them into Artex and found that they were a former Vikings season ticket holder. So it's a very good qualified lead.
Yeah, and I haven't tried that. I've kind of kept it very simple, B2B, and very generic. But I'm sure anything will show up in the search engine in the LinkedIn profile, or LinkedIn platform. That's a good point. We got some hands? Yes?
The verticals that you choose, do you always select one specific industry? And how do you determine which industry?
Well, again, based on your local market, maybe certain industries are more prevalent than others. So for me and our team, for example, in the Vancouver, construction is huge. You know, it's the most expensive city in Canada to live in. There's always construction happening. So I would have 3 or 4 reps on construction, because then you can break it down to plumbers. You can break it down to electricians, general contractors. And you just got to find the lists somehow, whether it's through association or chambers or whatever the case is. Where are you going to find these big lists? And the reason why we do these draft parties in our teams is so that we cover the full spectrum. I don't want everybody calling only the technology vertical. There are other verticals out there, and I want us to cover all the bases. So it's just a matter of what's prevalent in your market. In Canada, for example, pharmaceutical sales, they're not allowed to write off sports tickets. So it's tough to go after them and sell them if they can't write it off. So it wouldn't be a vertical that works for us. But in the States, healthcare is a big deal. Perfect, we have 2 minutes.
Quick explanation on that point. We just use what we have. We go into a legal database and find out we did a deep dive on which industries are actually spending the most amount of money on our events, and then that's how we know the research is from. So the legal industry in our events, I work for a tennis events in Canada, and they're huge in entertainment clients that have tennis events, so they're focused on entertainment, financial industry as well. So those are the two prime industries of vertical last system. Just based on how much they spend already, and then we just go after their competitors or associations.
So it's very specific to your local market. And it's up to your director or your manager, whoever you're working with, to provide that sort of leadership. Since we're getting to the 2-minute mark, I wanted to show you guys some examples that you can pull from. These are some of my friends who've heard the podcast, and they made some edits to their LinkedIn profiles. So Kevin Matchett, he also works in the CFL. He's a director of ticket sales. He manages a team of 10 or 12 people, and he's changed his value proposition to providing premium seating to attract new clients, retain your best clients, and reward your employees. And that's a director of ticket sales that might not even sell a ticket. But when he starts prospecting, that's what people see, and that's the image and the photo they have. Next one, Melanie, a very close friend of mine, the National Sales Center. Her focus is actually very different. She's trying to recruit new sales reps from college or various aspects across the United States. So what she's selling and pitching is developing the best ticket sales talent to help grow the game of soccer in North America. And that's the National Sales Center logo. So she has her photo and logo over there. This guy over here, he has a premium account. So he's got the banner behind him. And if you have a premium account, you can customize what your look is a little bit more than if you have the basic one. Troy over here has his phone number behind his name. So if you want to get a hold of Troy for him to be a keynote speaker, it's very easy for you to find his phone number. LinkedIn doesn't make it easy for you to find your phone number. It's actually hidden in some sub-tabs. So this is why I recommend showing it so people can get a hold of you a lot easier. This is me. Right now, I'm in the process of adding sales reps to our team. So my tagline talks about hiring, training, and unleashing the best ticket sales team in Vancouver. And I have my phone number over there. You can see my branded photo, my wallpaper, and if you go on the site, you'll see my summary and my story of how I got into sports, and hopefully that attracts other people to come into sports as well. So we've run out of time. Thank you very much for paying attention the last half an hour. I'm going to be around for questions.